doesn't sound right.
This sounds ridiculous!
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode on Proven Power Cycles. Thank you for joining us. And today we have a 2008 GSXR1000, and so he wants the bike ultimately retuned. It's been tuned before, but he knows he's having some kind of issue. He can't pinpoint it. He's tired of messing with it. He's been dealing with it for months now, and he's like, I'm sick of it. I just want you guys to figure it out, get it fixed, tune it, and just let me be on my way. So we get these every now and then where people will come in and they're trying to fight and find these issues, and they're just struggling to figure it out. And eventually they call us up, they bring it here, we get it figured out, and get it dialed in for them, and then get them on their way. So we wanted to show you guys kind of another way that you can use a dyno aside from just tuning. A lot of people only know that you can use the dyno for tuning purposes, but we use it for a lot more than that. We can use it to see clutch issues, we can use it to see if you're having a wheel issue, like a balancing issue, an alignment issue, injector issue, fuel pump issue, coil issue, a bunch of problems. You know, we're able to diagnose that by analyzing the graph on the dyno. So that's what we're gonna do today. Now, it may just need another tune, who knows? He said he swapped out a few parts, he's had the injectors cleaned, and he's had the pump replaced and all these things. So he's just lost at this point. So we're gonna run it here, we're gonna see what it's doing, we're gonna get the characteristics and basically the way the bike is riding, and diagnose it from there. So we're gonna warm the bike up real quick, and then once we get it warmed up, we'll do some baseline pulls, all right? So we did just baseline the Gixxer, and as you guys could tell by that audio, it doesn't sound right. The other kicker is, and we'll show you the graphs here after another few runs, we'll show you the guys the graphs, but basically we're having some kind of fueling issue, which is what we've already kind of figured after speaking with the customer. What we're gonna do now is we're actually gonna kind of show you how we come up with those results, basically. So between looking and analyzing the graph and then doing this mechanical test, we're gonna kind of show you guys how we, again, come up with our answers and figure out how it's a fueling issue, why it's a fueling issue. So we're gonna show you guys all of that, all right? So here we go. So guys, what you want to see as we're running the bike, it should stay around 40 to 43 PSI. It really needs to be at 43 and holding at 43. But watch what happens when we get this bike running. It'll probably shoot up to about 40 to 43 or so, but watch as we do this run. I'm almost willing to bet money, we haven't tested it yet, but I'll bet you money that we're gonna see this needle right here, we're gonna see it go from 40 or so, and we're gonna see it just tank as we're rolling through the throttle. But let's go ahead, let's start the dyno, let's see what happens. Already we're not even at 40 PSI, so just at idle we're already a little low on fuel pressure. So that's already a good indication that we're having a problem with our fuel pump system. All right, let's see what happens as we roll into the throttle. want to do this all in one shot for you guys. So notice as we rolled into the throttle, everything was okay, but notice when we started to lose the pressure, and this is what happens when we lose that pressure, we're going lean. So notice when all that happens, look what happens to our power curve. It just starts to fall on its face, and the more demand we're giving it, the harder it is, and it cannot pump, it can't keep up. So we definitely have some kind of issue going on with the fuel pump system. So with that being said, we know that there's a fuel pump issue, something going on with the fuel pump assembly, whether it be a clog or just something, the pump's failing. He said he did swap it out with an aftermarket pump, and a lot of these aftermarket pumps, honestly, we do have problems with them. So it doesn't surprise me. It also could be the regulator, it could be a clog in the fuel filter, we don't know. So we're gonna go in there and inspect, more than likely something to do with the pump. But we're gonna go in there and inspect it and kind of see what we can do to clean it all out. It's also, these bikes are getting older, so they're accumulating more and more crud, and a lot of the pumps are failing, things like that. So you do see a lot of clogging, you see a lot of gunk that gets built up into the filters and stuff. So, and there's also an internal filter inside the fuel pump assembly. So again, there's ways around this. We're gonna dive deep into this thing. We're gonna try to get it figured out. He could still have injector issues as well. We don't really know that yet. We're just kind of going down the line. So we're starting at the starting point, and then we're gonna work our way down the line and see what else is an issue as we progress through these steps on figuring this issue out. So, but for right now, we know we have a fuel pump issue. We're gonna drain all the fuel out of the tank. We're gonna start getting this thing all pulled apart, and we're gonna start figuring this out. So stay with us, guys. See what kind of transformation this thing happens. It's gonna be pretty massive. So I'm excited for this guy to get the bike back once we get everything fixed. So stay with us. We're gonna get to work. Daryl got the tank all drained, and we have the fuel pump assembly all pulled. We're gonna start going through this bad boy and seeing if maybe there's a loose O-ring, something pinched, just something not hooked up correctly. We're gonna start going through this whole system. One thing we did notice, we did have a little bit of rust around the cap. So we do have a little bit of material on the tank here that's starting to come off. So something that we're gonna have to bring up to the customer and let them know. It's not like flaking off really, but you can start to see the liner getting chewed up a little bit in here. We did have to clean the cap up quite a bit just in order to open and close his fuel tank. And that seal, so there's a seal on the cap, and I'll show you guys later on, but there's a seal around the cap. So we're looking at the fuel tank upside down right now. So there is a seal on that cap, and that seal is all cracked up, and it's honestly it's losing its seal, if you will. It's all dry rotted and cracking. So that's definitely something that we're gonna replace to kind of help prevent any future rust. But we did kind of clean it up. We lubed it all up in there, so hopefully that kind of cleans it up more. But and then I don't know if you guys can see this, but even these vent hoses and these have rust all in it. This one even broke just trying to pull it out. So this cap is really hard. So it tells me it was probably sitting there for a while. That could be another issue that we were having, is kind of like a vacuum. And whenever that happens, you don't get good fuel flow. It literally kind of stops the fuel flowing. So that could have damn well been a very big issue as well, trying to get the fuel delivered to the bike. So we're gonna try a few things. We're gonna look at this while it's out. We're gonna check this all out while it's out of here, and we're gonna see what we can find on this. We're gonna try to clean it and all that, and then we'll also ventilate the system and rerun it on the dyno and see what that helps us with as well. All right, guys, we have the new fuel pump assembly in the bike now, and we're gonna go ahead and do some testing. Don't remember if I changed the ECU or not, like if I reflashed it back to stock. It might still be set up on that other flashed ECU. So if it is, I'm expecting this run to be insanely rich, which would be a good sign. Honestly, that would mean everything is working as it should. So we'll see. Let me fire it up. I'm gonna get it warmed up now and do some pulls. Look at the air fuels, watch. we got the 08 GSXR1000 all resolved, and he's out the door, he's driving the bike, he's super happy with it. So without further ado, let's go over the numbers. So when he came in, the max horsepower that we were able to achieve was 73.79 horsepower at 59 foot-pounds of torque, and that's at 6,000 RPM. We could not get it to go over, I mean, you can see here, 6,500 is kind of where it peaks out, if you want to call it that, and then it falls on its face, comes up. So we let off the throttle a little bit to try to get it to catch, and then it just fell on its face, okay? So this is how he came in, this is his baseline. When we took the fuel pump assembly all apart and we cleaned it, we fixed a few things too. You can see we started to see some changes. We started to see it pulling, right? And then it started to fall on its face again. And if you look down here, look at our AFRs, they just start to lean out, lean out, lean out, lean out, lean out, and then they go off the charts. And as you can notice in relative, it's just falling down as this goes up. So again, we were having some sort of issue in there, and we've already cleaned it. We reran new O-rings and stuff like that. We redid some of the seals that we noticed that weren't situated correctly. So even after all of that, I still knew, based on all my experience, I already knew we still have a fuel pump issue. It's not even close. So what we ended up doing, we opted to get a new fuel pump assembly. So, and this is this one here, this green line. So now with the new fuel pump assembly, look how much of a nice linear pull we get, but we still have it falling on its face up top. Why is that? Well, because when he was having this issue originally, back when he started having this problem, he went to another shop and they had access to his ECU, and they told him, hey, we can put a map on there for you and it will help make the bike ride okay. But they knew, based on his story, it sounded like they already knew he had a fuel pump problem. You know, like he had a fuel delivery problem, I should say. So based on that knowledge, as you can see here, it goes a little rich, then it goes a little lean, and then it just tanks like as we go through the power band. And look what happens up top. So, and this is what I would expect to see on a bike where, you know, they're having fuel pump problems and they don't, you know, basically they don't fix the problem, they just kind of band-aid it. I would expect to see a very, very, very rich mixture up at that high RPM, just like what it's doing. But it's so rich that it's quite literally blowing it out. Like it's just too much. It's flooding the system, and that's why we get a really bad power band. Because again, the spark, imagine throwing a ton of gasoline on a little candle. Like if you do it and you missed it, yeah, of course you can create a bigger boom, but if you throw it all at once, all that volume at once, you'll actually snuff it out. And that's kind of what's happening here, is you're literally snuffing out the ignition, so it can't actually create an explosion. Or it's creating one, but it's so rich, it's overly rich, that it's just falling on its face. It's not a good, clean combustion. So with that being said, once we got it all dialed in, here are the final numbers. Oh nice, it's gold. Yellow gold. So this was our final numbers here. Bloop. We ended up at 170 wheel horsepower, which is actually very, very good for a bike that had little modifications on it, considering he just had an exhaust and an air filter. These are very good mods. The chain and sprocket was stock. There was nothing fancy, and we're at 80 foot-pounds of torque with 170 wheel horsepower. That's the final numbers, which is incredible, considering he came in making only about 73 horsepower and about 60 foot-pounds of torque. So he picked up damn near 100 horsepower just by fixing the issues and getting the bike tuned. So I bet your ass that he's feeling that difference, and he's freaking out right now. So even with it right here, after we fixed this, we still picked up a solid 25 horsepower, 25 wheel horsepower just by fixing the tune. Now, and on here, if you notice, it does lean out here, but that's because my sensor actually took a crap right at the end of the dyno session. My sensor started going out, so we started seeing that. But all in all, AFRs were nice and clean. As you can see here, a nice clean, have a slight inleanment down here, which is okay. I actually don't mind that. It helps pull the power, or the bike through the power band, so no problem. And again, it's nice, clean, nice linear. You want to see this as linear as possible. So this has a really clean power band, and that's what these 08s, those 708s were known for. The GSXR platform especially, it just has a very clean, nice linear, very, very clean power graph, if you will, horsepower and torque graph. You want a flat torque line and you want a linear power band, and that's exactly what this bike provides. So this thing should feel absolutely beautiful on the road. So major transformations, and again, we'll go through each one. So we had 73, then we went to 102 after cleaning, and then 156 with the new assembly, and then 170 with the final numbers. 60 foot-pounds of torque here, 67 here, 74 here, and then 80. So just massive jumps across the board. So really happy with these results. I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. It was another fun one to make for you. Please let me know down below, give us a comment, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Tell us what you think about the video, and that's about it. Appreciate the love. Thanks for the support. We'll see you on another episode. Subscribe now.